Hello everyone, this is Mr. 206. This is the first of my Wacky Wednesday videos, and I'm gonna start it off with a simple one, and that being a tier list of my favorite games from the GameCube and before. Now as I'm sorting these, I'm gonna be talking about the game and their significance to me, and then just ranking on how good I think they are. The tiers being S to D, 5 different tiers. And just because one of the games is in D tier doesn't mean it's bad. These are already some of my favorite games. I'm just ranking them of which one's my most favorite. I've kind of ordered the games a little bit in the order I thought they would have come out in. This isn't saying that these are the dates they actually came out in, but this is order in the date that I think they would have come out in. So let's start this list. Starting off with a strong one, we're going to go with Mario Bros, the original Mario game. The original Mario game is a classic. I've probably played the first level of this game about 1,000,000 times. Sometimes during the weekends, I would go to the flea market with my family, and there would be like these stalls that had games. Now, very often they would have like a TV and a console, and they always had the first Mario game with the first level that anybody can just come up and play. Now, usually what they were advertising was the console wasn't an official console. Usually it was like a console that carried a bunch of other games, but they always let you play the original Mario game. Now eventually I did end up playing the full Mario game. Solid game to start off the tier list. I'm gonna put that in a solid B. I know that just offended about 1 billion people, but this is my tier list, so get used to it. Yes, Mario 2. I ended up playing this game with my cousin at his house. I probably played through the first couple levels about 1 billion times. Up until the first boss, I think was Birdo. I played everything from the beginning up till Birdo like 1 billion times. It was a really good game. In my opinion, this was a step up from the original Mario game. So in that case, I'm gonna put Mario 2 in the solid A tier. Alright, next up is the original Sonic game. This one I played a few times with my cousin on his Game Boy. Pretty good game, it's a Sonic game. Fast-paced side-scroller. Super inoffensive. Similar to the original Sonic game, I'm gonna put that in the B tier, just under Mario. That definitely made some people cry.
Idiots!
Alright, next up, Sonic 2. Also played this one with my cousin. Now this one I have a lot more memories playing. I definitely played Sonic 2 a lot more than Sonic 1. I remember that one you could play Sonic, Tails, and also Knuckles. And I very often played Knuckles because I thought he was cool. So similar like Mario, I'm gonna put that in A tier. You know what? I'm actually gonna put that above Mario 2. I just have a lot more good memories with Sonic 2 over Mario 2. Both really good games. Alright, next up, Donkey Kong Country. Now this is a banger of a game, my dude. This is a banger. I probably played this game 1 billion times on my Game Boy. The last time I played this game was probably like 3 or 4 years ago on my Steam Deck. I got an emulator. And this game still holds up. It's an extremely good game. Thus, Donkey Kong Country is gonna be our first S tier. I could play this game for the rest of my life and be perfectly content. So many memories with this game, my dude. Next up, Pokemon Fire Red. Well, basically all of Pokemon Gen 1. Being the originals and also the Game Boy Advance ones, the remakes. The thing with Pokemon is, this is probably my most played game probably ever. The reason of that being was because when I was a kid, like I said, I would go to the flea market with my families. I would go to the flea market and buy a Game Boy. Typically, I would buy the game of Pokemon Gen 1, Kanto, or Pokemon Gen 3, Hoenn. Now, the reason I'm not calling it Fire Red and Emerald version is because thing was my parents hated me having any kind of video game related thing. So whenever they would find my Game Boy, they would throw it away. And the next time we would end up going to a flea market, I would ask my parents for some money. They would give me like $20 or something. And back in the day, that was enough to get yourself a new Game Boy and a new cartridge of one of the Pokemon games. And since it's the flea market, you know, they had the original games, but then they also had like fake cracked versions. I definitely played Pokemon Fire Red the most out of Gen 1, the Gen 1 games. I remember one time I bought, I think it was called like Pokemon Darkrai, and it was basically just Pokemon Fire Red, but sometimes when you talk to the NPCs, they would say bad words. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I thought I was so badass playing that game, my dude. So the fact that I bought that game 1 billion times and never got tired of it starting from the very beginning shows just how good the original Pokemon Kanto Gen 1 is. So this one is going to be S tier, but it's going to be above Donkey Kong Country for sure. It's a great game. As you'll be seeing on one of these new videos, I'm actually going to be doing a playthrough of the Pokemon Gen 1 Kanto through PokeMMO. So stay tuned and watch that in a couple days. Next up on the list is Planet of the Apes for the Game Boy Advance. Now, like I said, my parents didn't like me playing video games, like at all. They would throw away any Game Boys I had. And typically in the Game Boy, it would be a cartridge of one of the Pokemon games. But if my parents didn't find the Game Boy in the game, then the next time I would go to the flea market, I would end up buying one of these other Game Boy games. And I would hide them somewhere in my room so my parents wouldn't find them and throw them away. And one of these games I bought was Planet of the Apes. Now, this was a very difficult game. Probably isn't nowadays, but back in the time for me, it was extremely difficult. This one was kind of like a side-scroller game, but you were a human and they were, you know, the apes and a bunch of other fauna attacking you as well as you went through the different levels. Now, the thing with this game was there was no save. But eventually through the level you would find a code, and using that code you could go through like this little level selector, and if you had the code you could go to one of the different levels. Now the thing was, I was a stupid little kid, so I never remembered the code, so every time I would die I would just have to restart from the beginning. It's a very slow-paced game, which is what made it really intense for me back in the day, because the enemies, they would kill you in like 2 or 3 hits. It was insane. So you had to play really slow, and all you had was this little knife, and you had to be like frame pixel perfect in order to hit an enemy without them hitting you. This was like my Dark Souls. This was my Elden Ring back in the day for the Game Boy. It was crazy. I never ended up beating this game. I think I only went to like level like 3 or something. I don't know how many levels are in this game. It was a good game, not a bad game at all, but definitely weaker than the other games. This one is gonna have to go. This one's gonna have to go in the D tier for sure. Once again, just because it's in the D tier doesn't mean it's bad. These are already some of my favorite games. This just means this one's weaker than the other favorite games, which when you're competing with Pokemon and the Mario games, like getting a D tier isn't bad. Up next is Attack and the Power of Juju for the Game Boy Advance. Now, this was one of those other Game Boy games I would have hidden from my parents so they wouldn't throw them away. I would say this game is actually pretty similar to Planet of the Apes. It just wasn't as difficult as that one. But they very much have the same blood. They're very similar. And for my little child brain, easier meant better. Good game. But it's definitely not going to crack a C tier. This is going to be a high D tier. Definitely above Planet of the Apes. There you go. Alright, these next 3 games are PC games. Now, eventually, my parents did end up getting a shitty little office PC that I think they got from like a yard sale or something. And sometimes we would go to like a thrift shop and they would have these shitty little PC games, like this teaching PC games for kids. And one of these games I played was Pajama Sam 3. You are what you eat from your head to your feet. Not gonna lie to you, I basically remembered nothing about this game, but I love the title of the game, and I often make a joke about this game being great with my friends. And I would play this game a lot with my sister. I remember those memories. I just don't remember anything about the game. But simply for the memories and the memes that I still use even nowadays, I'm gonna put this game in the C tier. Alright, next up, one of these other PC games, Zoombinis. Dude, I have Zoombinis on my PC right now. I have it on Steam. This is a banger of a game, dude. Holy shit. I would play this, my sister would play this, and my dad would also play it as well. That's how you know it's a good fucking game. It's able to transcend generations. So this game basically is you start off with like, I think it's like 20 Zoombinis or something like that, the characters, and you get to edit each individual character. Now, they have a few traits, like you could edit their hair, you can edit their eyes, their nose, and their legs. And this actually makes a huge difference because they don't have like the same legs. Like there's people with legs, there's people with like springs for legs, a bunch of other stuff, right? 10 different mini games throughout this game. And it was divided into 2 parts. Now you had to get the Zoombinis from one side of the island to the other side of the island. But the thing is, there were 2 different paths for each of the parts. And the 2 paths led you to 3 separate mini games, I think it was. The mini games are really good, especially for a teaching game. Now there's this level where you're like on a cliff or something, I think it is. And there's like a bubble machine and your Zombinis would have to go in the bubbles. And there were checkpoints that the bubbles had to go to. And then depending on the checkpoints, your Zombinis would go to a different location. And if you put a Zombini with a certain appearance in one of the wrong bubbles, then that Zombini would die. That's the thing about this game. If you fail, your Zombini's dead. They die. They're gone. Which made the game extremely stressful. But like I said, there's like a checkpoint. After you choose one of the paths and go through 3 of the mini games, there's like a checkpoint. And then you would put any of your surviving Zombinis there. In order to continue, you'd have to have like a total of 20 Zombinis. And you would most likely lose some Zombinis all the way there. So you would have to go back to the beginning with another 20 Zombinis. And this time you could go the other path and do the other 3 mini games. And get to the middle checkpoint, which your first group Zombinis and your new group Zombinis would combine and continue on to the next. Which, like the first section, had 2 different sets of mini games. And once you complete the sets of mini games, you'd get to the end of the location, that being like a town. And the more Zombinis that made it there, the town would like grow. So it would kind of like incentivize you to keep replaying the game and the mini games in order to get them to the end to build your town and make it bigger. This game was a fucking banger, dude. Like I said, we had like 3 different saves. My save, my sister's saves, and my dad's saves. Now, every once in a while, I do end up re-downloading this game and just playing it because this game's a fucking banger. This game is definitely going in the S tier, right below Donkey Kong Country. If you haven't played it, I definitely recommend playing it. And if you don't plan on playing it, at least give it to your kids when they grow up. All right, up next is Jumpstart Kindergarten. This is another one of those PC games. Now, I only played this game a couple times, but it was super memorable. This one's more teaching oriented than the other games. The other games describe their teaching properties behind gameplay, so you wouldn't feel like you're learning stuff. You would feel like you're playing a game, but you're secretly being taught. Jumpstart was just straight up a teaching game. You had like the math section, the English section, a bunch of other little teaching sections. Like this is a game you would play at like a school if they had it. But I remember one of the levels is just a straight up racing section. You would like get your car, you would paint it, and then you would go racing against the NPCs. Now, I wasn't too fond of the other sections, but this racing section was the shit, my dude. Now, that one section was a banger, but the fact the other sections I didn't really like, this definitely can't go higher than a C tier, but it's definitely going above Pajama Sam. Get out of here, Pajama Sam. There we go. All right, up next, Pokemon Gen 3 Hoenn. This is definitely my second most played Pokemon game. Now, Pokemon game's a Pokemon game. These games are bangers. I definitely played Pokemon Sapphire a lot more than the other games. Now, Pokemon Emerald is definitely an S tier. The question is, should I put it above or below Donkey Kong Country? Nah, I definitely gotta put Pokemon Gen 3 above Donkey Kong Country. There's just too many memories there. Now, up next, Super Mario 64. Now, everyone knows this game's a fucking banger. Now, from what I remember was I had a lot of issues with this game. The issue being that I wouldn't progress past entering the world for the first time, because I would always get distracted just exploring outside the castle and inside the castle. When I would go inside the castle, I wouldn't know where to go. My little child brain couldn't read text and use clues and reasoning to figure out where I had to go, so I just ended up running around the outside of the castle and inside the castle. But eventually, probably like once, I did end up going into the first level, but I don't think I ever completed it until like years later when another one of my cousins had the game on the Wii, I think it was, or something like that. And then I actually like probably went through like 80% of the game but never fully completed it. But the fact that the starting zone itself was so entertaining to me that I didn't feel the need to progress through the rest of the game, it's kind of an insane thing. And even when I did play the rest of the game, it was a good game. This one's a banger. I'm definitely going to put this in a high A tier, right above Sonic and Mario 2. Next up is the first Crash Bandicoot game. Now, the first Crash Bandicoot game, dear God, this game was fucking difficult, dude. I definitely never completed this game. I don't even think I got past like level 3. I played the Crash games at my cousin's house, and I don't think I knew how to like load the games, so I would just start a new game every single time I would play the game. And since the levels were so hard, I never really got past the 3rd level. But eventually I did end up getting the Crash Bandicoot remake game on my PC and completed the first game. And even now, that game is fucking hard. Who thought this would be a good game for kids? Jesus Christ. Good game, good game. How can I put this high B tier? Its difficulty is just unparalleled. Up next is Crash Bandicoot 2. Now this one I played a lot more than Crash Bandicoot 1. Because Crash Bandicoot 2 was a lot easier. And this one actually did complete. Because like I said, I didn't know how to load saves. I would just start the game. Like I said, I didn't know how to load games. So I would just restart the game from the beginning every time. But at least I did complete this game. That tells you how much easier it was than Crash Bandicoot 1. And the good thing about this game was that like you could select the levels. I think it was like separated into like 3 or 4 different sections. And I remember playing that one level where you're like in the plane and you're like shooting down a bunch of like air blimps or something like that. That was one of my favorite levels. I thought that level was extremely good looking. Definitely more fond memories of this one over Crash Bandicoot 1. This one's definitely gonna have to be second on the A tier. Now Crash Bandicoot 3, I don't really remember much about this one. I just do remember I did play this one. But it's a very forgettable game to me. I couldn't tell you a single thing about this game. Thus, this one is gonna be the lowest D tier. Oof. Now Ghost Recon, the original Ghost Recon for the GameCube. This game is a banger, dude. Holy shit. Now the thing with this game was my dad bought it. He wanted to play it. And we ended up playing it together. Because this game actually had split screen. So you had one player on top and one player on the bottom. Now this game was extremely tactical. I remember playing the first level with my dad about 1 billion times. Thing was, this game had you had a squad. You weren't playing a single person. No, you were manning a squad. And when you were loaded onto the map, there were like little checkpoints of like enemies. Now, before you engage the enemies, what you had to do was you had to position your soldiers in specific places. So when the firefight would start, the computer would take over them and do the fight properly. So you would be controlling a soldier and then the computer would be controlling the rest of your soldiers. Now, the more players you had playing this game, the easier it was because that would be 2 players actually doing it and like 2 other computers. And this game was tough. Since it was on the GameCube, there weren't a lot of pixels on the screen and the enemies could see for miles. Not only that, the enemies were wearing camouflage and it was very hard to see them. They would be in bunkers and trenches, hiding in trees and bushes. A lot of the game really came down to replaying the same level over and over again and figuring out where the enemy placements were. And then knowing how to place your soldiers in a specific spot without having them be seen. That way, once all your soldiers were in position, you and your men would all attack at once. You controlling one soldier and then the computer controlling the rest of your soldiers. Now the first level was brutal because you start on like a beach at the bottom of a canyon and you have to work your way up the canyon with a bunch of checkpoints of enemies. I believe there were like 2 or 3 checkpoints in like the ravine area. There was like a little plains area on one of the sides of the ravine, which I think had like 2 checkpoints with enemies. One being like a small little town, and then one being like little hut in the middle of a forest. And then the final area is where me and my dad would die like every time, which was like this cave with 2 different entrances. And the cave was absolutely riddled with enemies. Now the thing was, there were some enemies that were like in a specific place. Those were the checkpoints. And there were some enemies that were kind of roaming around the checkpoints. Now with that cave, the enemies would roam in the cave. They would stay in the cave, but they would roam, which would make it hard when you're trying to position your soldiers in a specific place, because then they would just be ambushed and then the computer wasn't good enough to handle those enemies. I believe I did end up completing this game, but it was extremely difficult. Me and my dad played this one a lot. Great memories with this one. This one's definitely going to go in A tier above Sonic. No wonder Ghost Recon became a juggernaut of the FPS genre for a while. Alright, up next, the Hobbit game for the GameCube. Now, just for some context, when I had a GameCube, for the longest time, I did not have, the save card. So every time I would play a game, I would have to restart from the beginning, or I would just have to leave the GameCube on, so I didn't lose progress. Now, with my little tiny child brain, I was extremely bad at this game. I probably played the first level about 1 billion times, which didn't technically even have enemies on it. I guess you could call this like my first RPG game, because that first level, it wasn't straightforward experience like you would expect. You would start on one side of the town, the Shire, and you'd have to go to the other side of the town, which is where your home is, to progress to the next level. The thing was, this game had like a level completion thing going on with it. And as a kid, I wanted to complete it 100%. So you would have to find every single one of these monies, the rubies, and do some like little side quests too. So I did that every single time I played this game. And that first level is just so iconic to me. So good, so good. And then the second level was when you're in the forest and there's the 3 trolls. And then you kind of got to do like a little sneaky thing where you got to go around the trolls. Now my little child brain couldn't comprehend how to get past these trolls, but it was very obvious. I think there were some bushes or something you had to go through. Now my little child brain wouldn't realize that you could go through the bushes. I thought I had to go around the bushes. That level was fine, it was good. And then you ended up going to the 3rd level, which I believe was like the cave level with a bunch of spiders. That level was fine a little bit, definitely a bit more of a step up from level 2, as there was a lot more combat in that one. But I would never make it past, but I would never actually get to the 4th level. Because like I said, if my GameCube ever turned off, I would have to restart from the beginning. And I would always turn off my GameCube, or something would happen where my GameCube will get turned off right around the end of the 3rd level. I've got to go back and complete that game. It was a good game. I would say this is the first game I played closest to like a RPG. And it was a good one. This one's definitely going to go high B tier. Above Crash Bandicoot for sure. Next up, Super Smash Bros. Melee. Super Smash Bros. Banger of a game, needs no introduction. You've got a bunch of Nintendo characters, they get together, they fight. What more could you want? Now, I didn't really have friends who would come over and play this one with me, so I would just end up playing with the computer. And I wasn't really good at the game. I would just make my little free-for-all fights and just fight the characters. I think my favorite characters were Meta Knight and Snake, if I'm not wrong. The game would have been a lot better if I had somebody to play with, but unfortunately it was just me and the computer. Thus, I would have to put this game at a high C tier. If I had friends and had more memories with this game, this definitely would have been like a mid A tier game. Now, these 2 games are fucking bangers, and it's a crime. A fucking crime this series didn't take off. These are some of my most favorite childhood games of all time. That being Ty the Tasmanian Tiger and Ty the Tasmanian Tiger 2, Safari Rescue. Now, the first Ty game, this one's a fucking banger. This is like one of the only games, since I didn't have a save card, that I would do everything in my power to make sure the GameCube did not turn off so I can complete the game. And this was the very first game I ever got 100% in. The very first game I completed fully. Because there's like a little tracker in the settings that showed you what percent of the game you've completed. And the first Ty the Tasmanian Tiger game was the first 100% I ever got. Basically, you're a tiger named Ty, and you've got boomerangs. And you've got to go through these levels and complete little side quests in those levels in order to get thunder eggs. Now, you needed these thunder eggs in order to complete them and get to the next section. Now, there were 3 levels per section. Now, you didn't have to collect every single egg. I think you had to collect probably only like 50% of the eggs from each world in order to continue to the next section. Like I said, I 100% completed this game, so I fucking did it. I collected every single item. Thing was, not only did you have to collect the thunder eggs, but in each level, there were these little rainbow shells, I think they were. It would be like coins in like a Mario or Sonic game. And at the end of each level, you would have to get 100 of those rainbow shells in order to get one of the thunder eggs. Not only did you have to do that in every level, but they were also in like the hub world. Now, the hub world was sick. I probably spent a majority of the game time just exploring the hub world, because It wasn't huge, but it had a lot of little secrets. Now, as you were collecting these thunder eggs, you could also collect these golden cogs. Now, with these golden cogs, in the hub world, there's like this little scientist dude, and you could give him your cogs. And with those cogs, he would give you a new boomerang. Now, at the start of the game, you had like the base boomerang. You throw it, hit a guy, come back to you, right? You had 2 of them. But then you could get like the flamerang, where you like throw the boomerang. If it hits an enemy, they're set on fire and they kind of like run around in a circle, not really attacking you or doing anything. You had something like the frost ring, where if you threw down an enemy, they would be frozen for a few seconds. Or if you threw it at this was insane. If you threw the frost ring at the water, it would create a little ice platform. And there were a bunch of little sections where you had to use the frost ring in order to get like a shell in the middle of a body of water, or else you wouldn't be able to get it normally. And also one of my favorite items, one of my favorite boomerangs of the games, the multi-ring, where it's just basically the regular boomerang, but you get to throw like 20 of them instead of only being able to throw 2 and then wait for them to come back. Now this game was, like I said, a fucking banger. At the end of the 3 worlds and the end of each section, there would be like a boss fight. The first one being like a giant warthog. The warthog would charge you and you would have to jump out of the way so it could like hit a rock. And then you could bite the warthog in the ass to do damage. And then when you defeat the boss, you would get a new boomerang. Now the first section, if I'm not wrong, there was like this little like frozen wall blocking you off to the next section. So the first boomerang you would get was the fire ring. And then you would use that flame ring to break down the ice blocks and then get to the next section. Now this game was perfectly made. I think Tasmanian Tiger 1 is probably one of the most perfect games I've ever played. Thus, Tasmanian Tiger 1 easily going in a S tier. The question is, does it beat Pokemon? You know what? Just because people don't praise Tasmanian Tiger enough, Tasmanian Tiger, for me, you're going a number 1, the best childhood game I ever played. That is my fucking shit. More people gotta play this game. It's so underrated. Next up, Tasmanian Tiger 2. Now, Tasmanian Tiger 2, very similar to Tasmanian Tiger 1. Thing was, the hub world was like expanded. The hub world had like 3 different sections. You had like the spawn zone, which had a bunch of like little hidden Easter eggs and stuff like that. Very similar to the first game. And then you would go to the town. And the town had like all the shops and a bunch of little Easter eggs and side quests. And then once you leave the town, you would go to like the actual world, I would call it, which is there would be a car and you have to drive the car to get to one of the other levels. While in the first game, it was just like a portal. You would get to the portal to get to the next level. In Tasmanian Tiger 2, you had to get in your car and physically drive to the next level. So it would be cool. You would be on one level and then you can see like another level in the distance. And I thought that was the coolest shit ever. Now, Tasmanian Tiger 2 is definitely an upgrade to Tasmanian Tiger 1. And the game is definitely a lot bigger than Tasmanian Tiger 1. Now, the thing is, Tasmanian Tiger 1, everything that it did perfectly. Now, there were a few things in Tasmanian Tiger 2 that I think could have been improved on. And the fact that Tasmanian Tiger 1, although more simple, it perfected everything. So Tasmanian Tiger 2, definitely going to go under Tai 1. But I am going to put it below the Pokemon games. Just because the Pokemon games are just too goddamn iconic. Oh yeah, another thing. Since the first Tasmanian Tiger was short and simple, you were enthralled from beginning to end. Tasmanian Tiger 2 was definitely longer, but I feel like there were some sections that definitely dragged on. Like it was trying to pad out some timing. And a lot of these little side levels, side quests, were kind of just repeat of old ones, which Tasmanian Tiger 1 did not do. Each mission, each side quest was completely unique. If I wanted to, I can tell you guys every single little thing of Tasmanian Tiger 1 from beginning to end in perfect detail, but I can't say the same about Tasmanian Tiger 2. That's just how fucking good Tasmanian Tiger 1 is. Alright, enough about gushing over Tasmanian Tiger. Let's talk about Lego Star Wars. Now, everybody knows Lego Star Wars, fucking banger. Now, this was a Lego game that had the 2 different trilogies. You had the Clone Wars trilogy, and then you had the Empire trilogy. And every level in this game's a banger. You got little gags everywhere. You can come back to the level with some new characters because there were some secret areas, and you needed those different characters to get to those new areas. It was a really big and expansive game. Now, I completed the game normally, and it was great. I definitely have to spend like 3 times as long in order to 100% that game. I'm sure some people did it, but it wasn't for me. Definitely gonna be top of A tier. Now, next up is Scooby-Doo, Night of 100 Frights. Now, we all know Scooby-Doo's a kid's show with some kind of scary undertones, but overall, still a pretty child-friendly show. Now, there's a difference when you're a kid watching Scooby-Doo and then actually playing Scooby-Doo, you know? Like watching a scary movie and playing a scary video game. So I was a huge fucking pussy when it came to this game, dude. And this game was actually extremely fucking confusing, because in some of the levels you would get certain abilities that you would have to use to progress into other levels. Now, I think a majority of my playthrough of this game was just kind of running around the hub world trying to figure out what I was supposed to do, because I was a puny little peanut brain child who couldn't figure simple things out. I needed like a MMORPG, like a little arrow on top telling me what I had to do. I played this at my cousin's house. Now, luckily my cousin did play this game and he was a bit older, so he did guide me to the areas I was supposed to go and get me the abilities I was supposed to have. So I probably ended up playing like 3 or 4 levels of this game, and I remember enjoying it so much. I actually played this game I think last year on my Steam Deck. I played probably through like half of the game. Really good game, really good game. Tough. I'm surprised I was able to go through that many levels as a child. I remember being terrified playing this game. But a super simple game, heavy on the visuals. Definitely not a C tier, but I think it's gonna go low B tier. It was a good game. Now this one, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the GameCube. This was a fucking banger. My cousin came over a couple times and we played this. Now this was the shit. It was like a side scroller brawler. Now when I was a kid, I was absolutely obsessed with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I remember my parents, they had VCRs of like the entire Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle animated series, and I watched that shit on repeat every day, dude. So good. And the fact that they made a video game, you know I was playing that like crazy. I probably completed that game like 4 times. That game was tough. Don't get me wrong, the fact that I was able to complete that game is wild, because it's like those other arcade side-scrolling brawler games. There's like 100 enemies coming at you and you have like a couple lives. And if you run out of those lives, then you gotta restart the entire level. But somehow I was able to complete it. Now, I'm a huge Leonardo stan because he wears blue, and I'm a sucker for blue. But Michelangelo is a really funny, cool guy. And the TMNT movie, the 3D animated one, made me really appreciate Ralph, the red dude. Such a great fucking movie. Watch that movie if you haven't seen it. This one's definitely going in B tier, but it's gonna go right below The Hobbit. This is a game I gotta go back and play because that game was a fucking banger. All right, next up. Ooh, this is a legendary game beloved by everybody. A cult fucking classic. The Simpsons Hit and Run. Jesus Christ. I probably played through this game like 10 times, which is surprising because I played this game through like 2 years ago. I got an emulator on my PC. And this is a tough game, dude. Some of those levels were tough. A section on like the third world, I think it was, where you play as Bart and you gotta go from one side of the map to the other side of the map doing a race with a different guy. Now that guy's car 100% was slightly faster than yours, and that bitch could drift. It would take turns super sharp, and your cars were ass at this point of the game. So the only way to really beat it was to like hit it in a corner or something. That way you gave yourself just enough time in order to get ahead of it, and you had to do that like 2 or 3 times in order to complete that and beat him. So the fact I completed that game a couple times while doing that as a little fucking kid is fucking wild. Yeah, but that game is great because you got like, it's 2 different kinds of games, you know? There's a walking around part where you walk around as one of the characters, a bunch of little jokes and gags with the other characters, a bunch of collectibles as well. The meat of the game was the driving part. There would be like each level, I think there were like 5 or 6 levels. Each level had a couple main missions and like side missions. And by completing the missions and side missions, you would get like new cars and outfits, and you would have to make money as well in order to get those cars and outfits, which was sick. You could always come back to one of the old sections and just kind of drive around. That's what I would do. That's probably a majority of my gameplay playing that game. with just getting in the car, driving around, running around, repeating the same jokes and gags that I heard 1,000 times, and fucking dying laughing. This game fucking holds up. They gotta do a remake of this game. Actually, no, don't. They'll probably screw it up. Fucking banger. This is definitely going S tier. Above Zumbinis, but below Donkey Kong Country. Alright, next up, Avatar The Last Airbender, the game on the GameCube. Now this is what I would call my second RPG game, right after The Hobbit. Basically, you play as Aang, starting in the Southern Water Temple, and each level was a different segment of the story that you would see in the show. And the levels had like a main quest and some little side quests that you could do. And there was like an XP system as well. There would be like enemies roaming around the level, and when you would beat them, you would get some XP for your characters, and you could like get some new skills for your characters. You know, there would be Aang, Katara, Sokka. I don't think Toph was in the game. I think it was that one Earthbender dude that was in like one of the episodes. He was the Earthbender. I think it was the one that was like in the prison, which Katara helped get his family out or something. I think he was the Earthbender. I never completed that game. I think I only got to like 3rd or 4th level. The first level is a Southern Water Tribe, and when it gets invaded. The second level is like an Earth Nation town that's being attacked by firebenders. The 4th level, I believe, is in the Fire Nation, but it's like on the outside. I don't think I ever got past that 3rd level, because like I said, I didn't have a save card. And every time I played one of these RPG games, you know I had a 100% that bitch. And each level probably took like 6 hours or something to complete. Leaving a GameCube on for like 3 or 4 days, someone would eventually end up turning it off. So I never ended up finishing that game. I did end up playing that game on my Steam Deck, but same, I think I stopped at around like level 3 or 4. I gotta go back and finish it because that game is fucking great. A great RPG for the goddamn GameCube, dude. This one's a banger. I wouldn't put this in S tier. I would put this high A tier. This is number 1 on the A tier. Because like I said, the one issue with this game was it was an RPG. So when it came to RPGs, open world RPGs, I would have to 100% that game. And that game was way too fucking long to 100%. But I tried. I 100% tried. All right, next up, Luigi's Mansion. Iconic game. Definitely one of my favorite Mario games. Now, my dad gave me this game as a gift. Now, what I remember with this game was I got stuck in like the gallery area, I think it was. You would like be like on a tutorial or something, and the professor would be like telling you to go into the gallery area and do something. I think I got stuck on that area, and I had to ask my dad for help, and he couldn't help me either. So I think for like 1 or 2 days, I was just stuck walking around the area trying to figure out what to do. I don't remember what it was I did, but I did end up getting past it eventually. Now, for some reason, even though this one's more horror than the Scooby-Doo game, I think I was a little bit older, so it didn't scare me. I found it to be difficult because you kind of had to aim, but you were seeing it from like a fixed perspective, and aiming as a kid in that perspective was extremely difficult. So I did end up dying a lot. So I never ended up finishing it. I probably went through like half of the game, but it was a good game. Great fucking game. I definitely played this one on my Steam Deck. Same time I was playing the other games. Didn't finish it there either. I probably went through like 80% of the game. Still holds up. The fact that I played it and I still enjoyed it like 2 years ago means it's a good fucking game. Definitely A tier, not a B tier. Is it better than Mario 2? Yes. Sonic 2? Yes. Ghost Recon? Yes. Crash Bandicoot? Yes. Is it better than Mario 64? You know what? I am going to have to put it above Mario 64. Just because I was able to complete most of the game of Luigi. And I didn't really get past the first world in Mario 64. So it's got that over Mario. So Luigi's Mansion has that over Mario. I think they did end up making like a Luigi's Mansion 2. I wonder if that one was any good. I should go back and play those games eventually. Oh dear Lord, this next one. Oh, this one's fucking great. Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers for the GameCube. What a great fucking legendary game, dude. Me and my dad, we played through this game probably like 3 times. Now, as a kid, with nothing else to do, replaying the same game, that's perfectly normal. But an adult with a job, a wife, kids, and responsibilities, playing through this game 3 times, That's telling you this game's a fucking banger. This game takes place through like different sections of the Twin Towers movie. And it was a cinematic and gameplay masterpiece, dude. So this game starts at the Battle of Helm's Deep. You start off as Aragorn fighting off waves of orcs. And eventually he ends up losing ground and goes back into the town. And then there's a cutscene. The cool thing about this game is that it seamlessly transitions from gameplay into cutscenes and back and forth. And then the scene transitions to when Gandalf on his white horse shows up with the thousands of men to flank the orcs. And then as Gandalf, you gotta like kill hundreds of orcs with like hundreds of men around you and fend off and defeat that level, which was a great fucking way to start the game. Oh my god. I believe level 2 was where Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli go into that cave together, and it's like filled with like undead and like spirits. And then you make it to the end. I think there's a boss fight, and at the very end you guys have to run out as the entire place is collapsing. That level was a fucking masterpiece. Every single level in this game, just be aware, it's a masterpiece. You got the cutscenes, the gameplay, the transition between the gameplay and the cutscenes seamlessly. For a game on the GameCube, doing that is insane. I don't even think modern games can do that nowadays. Not only is this game a banger, but there were hundreds of memories made with me and my dad playing this together. So this game definitely going in S tier. Above Zombinis, above Hit and Run, above Donkey Kong Country, above Tasmanian Tiger 2. Question is, definitely not better than Fire Red Gen 1, but is it better than Emerald Gen 3? I think for the memories alone, it is gonna go above Emerald. If it wasn't for those memories, it would probably be a low S tier, a high A tier. But the memories alone shot it up that much. The final game on my list is Nicktoons Unite. Now this game was another one I played with my dad. It was basically like a crossover episode, a crossover movie with Danny Phantom, SpongeBob, Jimmy Neutron, and Timmy Turner. And each of them had their own unique abilities, and you could seamlessly swap between them. And you had to swap between them because there were specific sections only a specific character can do, or to get through a puzzle or something. From what I remember, SpongeBob is like the most straightforward one. He just kind of has those little karate chop things, super basic. I think Danny Phantom was one of the stronger characters. He also punches and kicks, but I believe he could like teleport or like go invisible or something like that. Jimmy Neutron was a ranged character, I believe. I think he had a gun. And I think Timmy Turner might have also been a ranged character as well. He had magic. But each level was a fucking banger. I think the story was that like there was like an evil outside person that started to work with all the villains of each of the shows. And like each level was going through like the different sections. I think the first level was kind of like the outsider. I believe the second level was the Fairy Odd Parents. I think the third level was Jimmy Neutron. And then the fourth was SpongeBob. And I believe the final level was Danny Phantom's level. I think I only played through this game once, but it was a good game. I think this was like one of the last games I played before my parents ended up buying me a Wii. When I got that Wii, I like stopped playing the GameCube and the Game Boy games, and I just fully switched over to the Wii. But if I had more time, I'm sure this game would have made a bigger impact and had more memories. But for what it is a good game. Is it a B tier? Does it beat The Hobbit? I don't think it beats The Hobbit, but it definitely does beat Ninja Turtles. I'm gonna put Nicktoons Unite just above Turtles and below The Hobbit in B tier. But yeah, that's my little tier list here. These are my favorite games that I played from the GameCube and any time before the GameCube. Now, these games were my childhood. After these games, that's when I transitioned to the Wii and like the Xbox. But before we close this, I just want to give final props to Tasmanian Tiger. One of the best games, one of the most underrated best games of all time. I cannot believe I have not seen people talk about this game. This game is a fucking masterpiece. I ended up playing this game like last year. I 100%ed it. That's how fucking good it is. I tried doing it on Iron Man hardcore mode, but it was just really tough because if you die once, you got to restart. And then for the achievement, you gotta 100% it in hardcore, which is like goddamn impossible. But if you're not 100%ing it, this game is a fucking masterpiece. Every single level, every single thing about this game is fucking perfect. Cue the Homelander perfect meme.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
You know what? On one of these wacky Wednesday videos, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna review this game. I swear I'm gonna go back and review this game at some point. I'm gonna make a, you know what? I'm gonna make a goddamn playthrough of this game. I'm gonna make a playthrough. More people need to know about Tasmanian Tiger. No, I'm gonna run for president, and I'm gonna make it a law that every single person in this goddamn world has to play Tasmanian Tiger from beginning to end. And if they don't, I'm gonna fucking drone strike their house. More people need to be talking about Tasmanian Tiger, god damn it. Anyways, that's gonna be all for this video. This is the first of the Wacky Wednesday videos. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Oh yeah, I can't forget about the question of the day. Keep in mind, these are my favorite games from my childhood. I know there's other games that other people played during their childhood, but these are the ones I played. The question of the day is that with these games that are on this list, do you agree with this list? Would you have a game in a different position? If so, where? And also, do you have any childhood games that you're passionate about, like the way I'm passionate about Tasmanian Tiger? What's your childhood game that you are extremely passionate about that is underrated? I want you to rant about it in the comment section like I did about Tasmanian Tiger. Okay, yeah, that's it. Video over. Bye.